Welcome back everyone, this is J7Jace bringing you some builds for the Samurai. Even though I don't recommend using them as a primary or even leveling up as one, as their stats across the board aren't good besides PA, they can still be a deadly character with the right builds and in single class challenge playthroughs where you're restricted and must stay as a single job for the rest of the game. Samurais are a very strong job for this kind of run as their skills like Shida Hadori and Double Hand will be useful, and let's not forget about their powerful katana skills too. But if you love their sprite or just have a thing for Japanese things, particularly feudal Japan, then I have some builds that will let the samurai excel. Let's get started. If you want to do well with the samurai, keep your bravery high and your faith low, as katana damage is largely dependent on not only our PA and weapon power, but our bravery as well. And draw out damage is not dependent on faith, but rather our MA, so there isn't much point in having higher faith unless you like relying on a white mage for healing, but I usually like it low to drastically reduce enemy magic damage. To briefly recap my first samurai build video which I made a while back, it was a roleplay Ghost of Tsushima inspired setup that revolved around stacking move to give us more range with throw. The equipment we used was Chidi Jiraden, Vanguard Helm, Grand or Genji armor, and Gaius Kalege. Then for our abilities, throw, Shida Hadori, double hand, and move +3. Even though our speed stat won't be great, our move stat of 8 will more than make up for this as we will be extremely mobile, and if we can't reach any enemies, throw will have more range as it's based on our move stat. So throwing strong weapons like Chaos Blades and Javelins can be very deadly. Just make sure you have a good number in your inventory. And up close, our Chidi Jiraden with double hand will do excellent damage. Because our MA will be relatively low, I don't really recommend using samurai abilities unless it's something like Kiyomori or Masamune, as our MA isn't taken into consideration for these skills. Raging Inferno with lower MA from my experience still did pretty good damage, but I still recommend physically attacking. Compared to other melee jobs, this isn't as deadly compared to monks and dark knights, but I still found it pretty viable and fun to use. Some other options if you want to focus on physically attacking is to use concentration instead of double hand, as human enemies will be harder to hit if they have stronger shields and cloaks equipped. You will do less damage, but sometimes being consistent and accurate will be more ideal. In my first video, I didn't suggest using dual wield as in real life it's not very practical with katanas, but Miyamoto Musashi had a fighting style with dual swords, so I'll take inspiration from some past YouTube comments and history about using dual wield here. Equip 2 Chidi Jiraden, Genji Helm, Lordly Robe or Grand Armor, and finally Brigand's Glove. Then any secondary, but I found martial arts to be fitting, then Shida Hadori or counter for your reaction ability, then dual wield and move +3. We will be hasted and can do solid damage. If you only have one rare katana like Masamune or Chidi Jiraden, then opt to use double hand over dual wield until you can get more katanas. Even though I wish the samurai had more HP, here are a few tank builds for them. The first one is to equip Featherweave Cloak along with Reflexes. I still found Shida Hadori and Low Faith to be better in most situations, but this combo is better when fighting ninjas since the second attack from dual wield won't be blocked by Shida Hadori. This other tank variant, if you'd rather be up close and in the thick of combat, is to equip Lordly Robe, Defense Boost, and counter while having Low Faith. Your samurai can take a few hits against enemies. If you're facing against human enemies who attack up close, then First Strike will be a better option as this ability won't go off versus monsters. Before I get done with the video, here are my last two builds that are more for fun and not as practical. The first one is an Arts of War Samurai build. Because knight abilities are largely based off of our weapon power and PA, samurais can be pretty good when it comes to running equipment as well as stats. Just try to equip the strongest katana available to you, gain more levels, as well as equip a PA boosting accessory to increase your success rate. So for your equipment, Chidi Jiraden or the best katana you can get your hands on, Crystal Helm, Lordly Robe, and Bracer. Then for abilities, Arts of War, Auto Potion, Dual Wield, and move +3. You'll be able to get in close to deal damage and to rend enemy stats and equipment. Now lastly, for the fun roleplay build is a gun-wielding samurai, which isn't too far off from history, as samurai did use firearms, although the handguns or tanzutsu weren't exactly known for their extreme firepower. I'll be showing two variants, one for magic guns and one for normal guns. If you want to use a magic gun, have high faith and have one of your items boost elemental damage, so for your equipment, blaster, Genji helm, black robe, and brigand's glove. If you're on the PS1 version, sub brigand's glove for sprint shoes. Then aim for your secondary, mana shield, equip guns, and life or mana font. If you'd rather use a regular gun, then equip Bomalot, Genji helm, Genji armor, and lastly, brigand's glove. You will have a samurai that can shoot across the battlefield. Lower faith will be more ideal for the second setup, but it's not required if you'd rather have a party member use things like white magic. I also know it's not the most superb gun build, as we can't use arcane strength for magic guns and attack boost for regular guns, but I say it's a fun one in the name of roleplay. That is it for today's video on samurai builds. It's a cool looking job class with some very strong abilities, but I still wish it was more effective as a primary, as there are just better melee options out there. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time with more FFT videos. Take care.